times of sharing durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Of course, at our morning session of the news commentary, we have our ASEAN Daily where we bring you news from Southeast Asia. So first of all, we are going to start with a news from Malaysia. The cartoonist Zulkifli SM Anwar Ul Haki, or better known as Zunar, as I can pronounce it better, said that yesterday he will be facing 9 sedition charges in court. And the charges that he will be facing would mean that he is expected to face a 50,000 ringgit bail when he is charged with sedition at the High Court here. And of course, the cartoonist said that he believed the sedition charge set for tomorrow, or actually is today, is the government's vendetta against his work, particularly the Pirate of the Caribbean. And the conspiracy to imprison Anwar books. What we can know is, if he's being charged, besides the 50,000 bail, the combined years of more than 40 years imprisonment will be expected to be put on him if he's found guilty on all 9 charges account related to the Sedition Act. Zunar was arrested for sedition over his tweet criticizing the federal court's February 10th ruling the sentence opposition leader Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim to 5 years jail for sodomy. While rights group and Pakatan Rakyat themselves have been condemning the government for the arrest, calling it an infringement on civil liberties and free expression. Well, personally to me, it's an infringement towards laughter. As we all know, laughter is the best medicine, and why take things so seriously? When a cartoonist do something, he's just merely, I won't say making fun, he's just making a parody of what our real life situation is. You might not agree with what he say, or we might agree with it. It doesn't matter, but to charge him with 9 accounts of the Sedition Act, it's just, isn't it a bit way too much? Well, I leave the decision to our listeners here to decide. On another news, civic activists has been voicing out. They said that ASEAN itself as an organization is ignoring the people's concern. And another human rights news below, this time is on Burmese slavery. Well, civic organizations in Southeast Asia are expressing increasing concern. Their voices are being ignored by ASEAN, even though the current chair, Malaysia, has vowed to realize a people-centered ASEAN. But we have yet to hear anything, just like we have yet to hear Najib's response on a slew of the human rights violation or cases regarding on freedom of expression. We also haven't heard anything from ASEAN related to human rights concerns as well. So when ASEAN, which will be holding its 26th summit later this month in Kuala Lumpur, the association's civil society conference and the People's Forum will jointly issue a stinging rebuke. Their recommendations, submitted annually since 2005 by civil society, have been neither implemented nor adopted in any meaningful way. They say this is because ASEAN prioritizes corporate interests and elite groups, including state-owned enterprises, over the interests of the people. They want all ASEAN states to confront environmental concern about construction of dams along the Mekong River and widespread abuse of migrants and refugees in this region, among other issues. Well, at the same time, you see issues that is related to democracy, how democracy has been less and less attainable in Southeast Asia, perhaps minus the Philippines and Indonesia. What we are seeing right now, the worst part was Thailand, and the control of military-led junta since last May will also be in the spotlight. The ASEAN civic groups also desire Myanmar to continue to be under scrutiny amid violent crackdowns on students and escalating hostilities against ethnic groups. So what we are seeing right now is really the civil society wanting or demanding the government to take action against what they themselves have promised within the ASEAN community, which is, of course, to go beyond just the rhetorics of people-led ASEAN, people-centered ASEAN. And on another news is regarding on the Malaysia's halal industry. As we all know, this time Prime Minister Najib is voicing out. Well, what he's saying is Malaysia is definitely keen to promote and develop halal industry in ASEAN region. So this is one of the Malaysia step in tapping into the region's market as a Muslim majority country. And as the chair of ASEAN 2015, Malaysia is keen to encourage and promote the development of the halal industry in this region. Malaysia is happy to share our experience and expertise with our friends and neighbors. Malaysia's involvement in promoting growth of halal industry goes back decades. This is what Najib Razak said during the opening of the World Halal Summit 2 days ago. And he said that the establishment of the AEC or the ASEAN Economic Community by year-end, there was no reason why ASEAN should not become a major halal trading hub that serves both to home markets and those around the world. Najib said necessary policy framework, institutional support and infrastructure facilities for the halal industry were already in place. So it's time to just push forward. I say you go, Malaysia. Just push forward the halal industry. But I think at the same time, talking about halal industry, it should be beyond just the economic benefits of halal industry or the market of halal industry. I think the main priority is to really uphold the meaning of halal itself. It's beyond just no pork or no lard. I think halal is all about ensuring that there's some form of environmental concern from the sources of the food that we get, and also some form of purity in terms of how the food is being prepared, how the food is being sourced. And purity in this sense is ensuring that the rights of the labor that have been producing those food are being somehow the rights are being given, the rights are being protected. So I think halal is more than just about food. It's also about labor, it's about the environment, it's about the whole ecosystem and supply chain that we need to address. So we'll take one short break. When we return, we will discuss more on other countries, where one of it definitely will be about the challenges of human rights in Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you are with us on our ASEAN Daily, as usual. But today, the reason why I'm a bit, I'm not sure what kind of feeling I should describe myself, but I guess I'm in a state of adjusting for the GST tax. And I personally, I didn't feel any much difference in terms of the pricing. Maybe because I didn't really consume that many of those GST tax items. But yeah, I mean, okay, 6% tax on food if you're dining out if you go out and dining in restaurants, is similar to the 6% sales tax. So I don't feel the difference in there. But in terms of food items, I don't really cook at home, so I don't. So far, the only pinch that I felt when it comes to the GST tax would probably be the sanitary pads.
Okay.
I was like, what? 50% more?
Well,
50 cent more?
50% more. That's a lot.
Depending on the cost.
Well, for me, actually, I felt it the very next morning itself when I was trying to take a taxi. The usual rate for me to travel from home to work would be about 10 ringgit. But I think I paid about like 14. And that's a huge increase. It's not just a few cents, because they also changed it in terms of seconds. Before this, for about 20 or 30 seconds, it's only 10 cents, but now it's 25 cents. So you don't realize it, but the meter just keeps changing and changing, and you're like, whoa, 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 what's happening here? And another thing that I felt was also when I was buying bread last night, instead of paying 250, I had to pay 265, and I was like, where am I gonna get 5 cents from? And I think that's the most annoying thing about GST so far, all the little 5 cents that comes along with,
right?
with all the price tags. So I'm already feeling it, and I'm not happy, I think.
I think not many people are happy about it. I guess I'm in a state of transition. Perhaps I haven't purchased much stuff to actually complain. But I think a lot of...
There's no increase in toll prices, is there?
No increase in toll prices. No increase in a lot of the fresh produce. And no increase in a lot of the services. But some irresponsible traders and people who just want to make the extra money, they actually charge on things that are supposed to be zero rated. I have friends who have been charged by buying prepaid cards. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to be increased or not, but I think it wasn't supposed to be increased.
It wasn't supposed to be increased, but then there was another report yesterday that said you can increase only for prepaid if you give your user additional talk time or something like that, which
doesn't make sense
quite
to me.
Misleading as well. How exactly do you define?
What if I don't want the extra 30 cents?
Exactly. What if you don't want the extra talk time and you just want to pay the normal price?
Yeah.
But there's no option to do that.
And some traders, and these are major MNC traders, they also did an irresponsible job at increasing, putting tax on, for example, newspaper, even though they apologize later on. But I think at the same time, it shows how much unprepared the SMEs, even the MNC are at addressing the issue of taxation.
And you're right, even they themselves are still confused. There are still a lot of them coming forward saying that we are just going with the flow. We don't really know what's going on. Even the taxi drivers were telling me, okay, I don't know why, but I had to pay like 250 to change my meter, the whole machine, and I have to pay for it. Yeah, SPAT is not even paying for it. It had to be from their own pocket money, actually. So if they didn't want to change, they actually don't have to. But of course, it's a requirement for all of them to do it. So, like it or not, they actually have to fork out the money and go and get the whole system revamped. And the same thing goes for all the MNCs, SMEs, even small shops, grocery stores. They also have to revamp their whole cash register machine. And a few of my friends said even when they ate at the mama, they had the upgraded GST cash register.
You are kidding
that
me.
That charged them extra than the usual price.
Crazy.
And I think a lot of people are slowly starting to feel how inconvenient this whole thing is.
But the funny thing is, besides the zero-rated items, apparently if your company is small enough, which means that your company is not making millions or is not making that much money to be considered a huge company, you are actually exempted from having to charge your customer GST. So I'm not sure why even mama companies even mama are charging its
I think they're
customers.
making a lot of money.
Perhaps they're making millions.
Love our mama. I think so.
So these are very confusing items that governments need to clarify, because the only thing that we know right now is zero-rated items, and there are 900 items on that list. But we also are not sure about services like taxi, like the toll charges, like whether if the company is small enough, do they need to charge their customer with GST? These are things that are still problematic.
And just to conclude this GST bento, one of my friends from Canada actually said, you know what, you guys should just make it like the Canada way. Everything should be taxed with GST except raw products and nuts, because those are the only two exempted items in Canada.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, he meant it as a joke, just to sort of make it easier for us, because like you said, 900 items on the zero rated. Nobody has time to look through everything and memorize. Oh, okay, so these are the things I don't get taxed for. So it's easier to just tax everything and just have one or two items left out.
Well, I think I would want my nasi lemak to be GST free.
Of course. Maybe for Malaysians it can be nasi lemak and teh ice or something.
Yeah, so so all the mama listen to it. Don't tax my nasi lemak, roti canai and teh tarik.
That's right.
On another news, so Gowri, when we talk about human rights, a lot of the human rights issue has been raised in the ASEAN level, but at the same time, a lot of the governments in Southeast Asia, they are not really addressing it. But the government in Indonesia is doing it differently. The government is beginning to probe into claims of Burmese slaves in Indonesia, which is quite interesting to see how the Jokowi's administration is looking at this.
And what's happening here is also really sad, because hundreds of men, all mostly from Burma, were actually held in this very remote small island called Benjina, which is the base of the operation for a lot of fishers in the area, and they are actually being forced to work against their will, because they went there illegally and then they have to make a living, so they don't really have a choice, and a lot of them are living in very terrible conditions as well, understandably, because they are illegal and they don't have the means to support themselves as well.
Sorry.
So like you mentioned, Indonesia is actually being proactive here, and they are pressuring Thailand to do something about this, because according to the news, all this actually started in Thailand, where all these refugees or workers from Myanmar who are trying to look for better opportunities, they go to Thailand first to try to make a living, and people from Thailand actually sell them off to these large fishing companies or seafood processing companies.
So they are actually slaves for the fishing industry.
That's right.
In Thailand or in Indonesia? Because what we are seeing right now, about 500 Burmese men are enslaved on Benjina. And the discovery of these people apparently is from an undercover journalist who actually interviewed and discovered that there are some modern slavery happening in the islands in Indonesia.
And the Indonesian government is also pressuring Myanmar government to just take the people back, because they've already taken back 100 men, about 100, and they are saying that apart from Thailand doing something about this, another solution is that Myanmar can step in and take back all their workers, probably like what Indonesia did with their workers in Malaysia or other parts of the country who were not getting treated well.
Modern slavery is not a new concept globally and as well as regionally. In fact, the fishing industry has been reported again and again in international media, especially in the area of Indochina, and this time in Indonesia. They enslave people from the lower income group, people who have no safety nets, into working almost 24 hours a day in the fishing industries.
And of course, this fishing industry is also related to the whole seafood processing factories, and that's another luxury as well. When people say, "Hey, let's go for some seafood," and you don't actually know how these people are getting their sources, and it could be by actually overworking and enslaving hundreds of men from.
So Gowri, no more lobster, okay?
No more lobster.
Eat your tilapia from the sungai.
Yeah, sure. No
from the river on the house backyard.
So it's little things like this that people don't even think about on an everyday basis. But there's this huge, what do I say, syndicate.
Syndicate, or I would say black market supply chain, where they supply food to us but using illegal methods.
So I guess what's happening here is for Thailand to actually be more proactive and start investigating who are these people who are actually selling off all these poor Burmese men who are in Thailand to make a living, just to sell them off to this remote island in Indonesia and them slaving their lives away.
And for consumers, I think it's best to avoid food that comes from those regions, especially in Thailand, Myanmar and all that. I think it's important to put the pressure as a consumer towards the governments to take more active measure to end modern slavery in Thailand, in Myanmar, and also, of course, in Indonesia as well.
And we also have one of the workers who actually managed to be interviewed, whose name is Tin Mu, who said her son left home back in 2012 with the help of a local human trafficker, and then he got a job at a seafood processing factory. But then after working there for a week, he was sold to a fishing boat in Indonesia, and they have not spoken since then, and she has no idea what's happened to him.
This is really scary. I mean, human lives are being treated as a commodity for the fishing industry, and it's kind of scary because nobody is actually looking at this in a deeper sense. And I think with the ASEAN Summit, the upcoming ASEAN Summit, one of the more pressing issue besides issue on security is definitely issue on the employment in Southeast Asia, not just in terms of skill employment, but also employment of the masses. You want to increase the movement of people in Southeast Asia, but you need to create some form of standard of working so that people know that their rights are being protected.
I totally agree with you. I think that human rights and workers' rights are probably two of the most important aspects in a country, because you can have the biggest building, the most expensive building, or the most developed infrastructure, but if everyone is being overworked and succumbing to modern slavery, it doesn't show that you have actually moved forward. You're still stuck there with that same mindset.
And on another news, we have it's a breaking news actually. It's regarding on the Marwan's death in the Philippines. We are talking about the militant Marwan. Recently, the case with 44 elite cops from the Philippines that was killed because they were hunting down Marwan. Now it's confirmed by FBI that he's dead.
And of course, there were news before this speculating his death, but this is the first time that it was actually confirmed with proper forensic evidence that showed that it was actually his body that was found, and that it's his death. It has been confirmed by the Philippines side.
So I'm not sure whether Malaysian news will make this as a major report, but in the Philippines, it's a huge deal to the extent that the president, the current president Aquino, his future is undecisive because of his failure in handling the issue. At the same time, it also shows that terrorism is very much a big deal in Southeast Asia that needs to be addressed.
And that's right. If Malaysia is talking about GST, Philippines is only talking about one thing, and that is still about the 44 police commandos who were killed, the whole Mama Sapano incident that's happening right there. And like you mentioned, President Aquino is under a lot of pressure. His ratings have dropped tremendously. People lost their trust on him, and nobody even wants him to be there anymore. And although he has 15 months left to serve, I think, and he's just lost the whole reputation that he's built with the people, and they are still questioning him, although he said, I don't want to talk about this, I've already explained it and cleared things up, but they still keep pushing. And you're right, it is a very, very big deal in the Philippines.
But that's the reality of being a good leader. You need to not just address the domestic issue, but you need to address security threats. And when it comes to security threats, the issue in Mindanao is still somehow unresolved, even though they are currently introducing the Bangsamoro basic law. At the same time, just a bit of a background about Marwan. He was said to have been behind a series of bomb attacks in southern Philippines since 2006. And in fact, US has offered a $5 million bail of reward for his capture at that time. And he was part of Jama'ah Islamiyah. He has links to Al-Qaeda and in fact has a long track records of attacks in Indonesia. When you talk about AEC, I think Marwan is the best example of AEC, how much interconnected he is from Malaysia to the Philippines to Indonesia. I'm just speechless.
And another thing that's also dumbfounding is we never even heard about this news in Malaysia. I mean, who's reporting it? Besides some basic updates, no one really cared to talk about.
Because it's not in our shores. That's the problem, right? With Malaysians. We will take one short break. When we return, we will talk about education as well as Japanese investment in Vietnam.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you are with us again on our ASEAN Daily. Gowri,
Yes.
when it comes to school, right? Do you want to be school in an army school?
Actually, back then, if you had asked me that question, I would have said yes, because I thought people in the armies are really cool.
Is this that? Or because you can have shorter hair?
Because you get the guns, the big fancy guns.
Not the guys, is it?
No, not so much.
So when Defense Minister T. Ban addressed graduates last month at the Cambodia's prestigious Army Institute, he directed his thanks to the guests who made it all possible. Guess whom? A group of officers from China's People's Liberation Army.
And apparently this institute was established in 1999 from Phnom Penh and is a part of China's rising military aid to Cambodia.
This is something we just knew about it.
Yeah.
But you know what is interesting is China and Cambodia's relationship has always been very, very close. I mean, both of the country has similar background, communistic background. At the same time, Cambodia never has any direct conflict with China, unlike the Philippines or Vietnam. So it does make sense for China to want to invest in Cambodia and have their probably military base there.
And yeah, like you mentioned, they are actually trying to use this military aid to further improve the relationship between the two countries. And it seems that it's $1 billion investment that China is looking at when it comes to the military aid in Cambodia. And it seems this is also a kind of seen as a push, to extend their regional influence, or some country would call it the expansionist agenda that China is adopting right now.
Especially in regards with the South China Sea, because China right now is not getting as much allies as it wants to when it comes to the issue relating to South China Sea. A lot of countries are seeing their region being threatened, and especially ASEAN is now gearing more towards trying to settle this dispute in a way that it's a win-win situation. Of course, this means that it will be acting much more colder towards China in a way. So it needs allies in a way.
So it's just trying to use any last measure that they have to make friends with some country in the region, so next time that they get into trouble, they can at least call one friend to their aid.
That's true. And another country that is definitely having trouble is not China, it's Japan. This time Japan is having trouble because the country's investment in the economic hurt that the Japanese is having right now, and it's definitely hurting the investment in Vietnam.
I must say, this news actually caught me a little bit by surprise, because when we think of Japan, we always assume that they, or maybe I at least always assume that they just never have any economic problems because they're so well off as a country.
They are so well off as a country, but the problem with the Japanese economy since 1980s. They have never really recovered as one of the most economically advanced nation. Maybe in terms of the way they deal things are much more advanced than a lot of countries, but when it comes to money, they are still not having their economic recovered yet. So what we are seeing right now, Japanese investment have temporarily failed in the first quarter due to difficulties in the Japanese economy.
And the agency, which is under the Ministry of Planning and Investment, said that total Japanese investment capital in the first 3 months reached about 295 million for 81 existing and new projects. And overall investment usually sees a year-to-year increase of about 13 projects, but also a decrease of 30% of their total registered capital. And however, these investors still remain attracted to Vietnam because of course, the low labor cost, as always, and also the many government incentives that they have for foreign workers.
So my advice to Vietnam is just to diversify your FDI, foreign direct investment, and not to rely on Japan that much, because whatever that is happening domestically in Japan will definitely affect Vietnam in the long run. Anyway, Gowri, that's all from us today. So all of our listeners hope that you have a great morning, and of course for Malaysian, have a great GST month.
And yeah, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the daily podcasts on news and interviews. And if you're on the move and if you want to listen to us, just download the TuneIn app on your smartphone and look for Durian ASEAN.
That's all from me, Arlene.
And this is Gowri.